welcome the HROI 2023 preview session. I'm Sarah Morgan. I am the creator of the HROI, and I am here today with our wonderful workshop leaders to just give you a preview of some more of the content that you will be hearing from us in the upcoming HROI Summit coming soon, October 25th through the 27th. Registration is now open, and you can see and scan your screen in order to be able to access tickets. So please, 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 if you have not registered and you're interested, scan that code on your screen and get to the workshop now. So before I introduce our wonderful workshop leaders and who are going to be serving on our panel today, I want to share an update about the summit, which will be news to some of you watching and listening. Yes, there it is at the bottom of your screen, 18 total HR credits. Earn 9 SHRM credits and 9 HRCI business credits. Business credits for the HROI Summit. We worked hard with our friends over at HRCI in order to get these sessions approved for business credits. Those of us who hold our HRCI certifications know how difficult those business credits are to come by, and HRCI is bringing you nine. Nine of them. So, nine, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them. And so, we want you to know about that, and we hope that that will be just one more reason why you choose to join us. And I hope that another reason that you choose to join us are these wonderful workshop leaders. Let them introduce themselves, starting alphabetically with the wonderful BJ Anderson.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm BJ Anderson, as she's already said, and I serve as HR leader at Humareso. I've been here for 7 years. I've been in the HR space for 24 years, and I'm looking very excitingly to support you and to bring a great program to you in October.
Excellent. Kirsten
Hi, everyone. I am Keirsten Greggs, the Trap Recruiter, and I am so looking forward to spilling the tea on talent.
and Lorena.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lorena Pabon. I've been with Humareso as a senior HR administrator and team leader now about 18 months, and I'm super excited to be doing this webinar today and doing the HRI Summit later in October.
Excellent. So, in our last session together, we talked about what would be upcoming in the Tea on Talent and some of what will be upcoming in our session on high impact onboarding. And in today's preview, we are going to talk about the new recipe for workplace safety, which is a session that I will be leading on October the 25th. So, I've asked Kirsten to step in as the moderator for this particular session in order to allow me to participate more in the answers so that you can hear a little bit more about what the new recipe for workplace safety is going to bring to you. So I'm going to turn things over to Kirsten and let her guide us through the rest of this conversation.
Thank you, Sarah. So let's just jump right in. And I am going to pose the first question to Sarah because you didn't talk as much the last time we did a preview. And then I'll go around just on my screen to Lorena, then BJ to follow up. What role or roles should HR play in promoting a safety first culture in the organization?
So, making sure that people are safe in the workplace is critical to what we do as HR professionals, whether we are the ones actually responsible for safety or not, because sometimes we're not necessarily the person in the organization responsible for administering the organization's safety programs and initiatives, but we're still where employees look to when they're thinking about their safety. And I'm not just talking about their physical safety. I'm also thinking about it from a perspective of their psychological safety, their ability to feel trust that their workplace will look out for their physical and mental well-being. And that to me is just as important as all the things that we do that are related to OSHA regulations and so forth, is making sure that people actually feel that they can come to work and function and be safe. And so to me, that starts and is a critical part to the work that we do, is establishing that rapport with employees and creating programs and creating policies that will ensure that they do feel that they can trust this environment to take care of them.
Lorena?
Okay, there, I had myself muted. For me, I always think of when it comes to workplace safety, the same time, the same thing. I think when it comes to hurricane prepping, right here in Florida,
Mm,
usually a lot of people tend to leave these things for last minute, or they react to it at the end. And I'm usually the one in June at the beginning of hurricane season, buying everything, making sure I have everything I need. So I think HR's approach should be a proactive one as opposed to a reactive one, because I know we can't foresee every single thing that's going to happen in the workplace, whether it's physical safety or psychological safety. But if we are proactive as much as we can limit those surprises and make the workplace a much more comfortable place for everyone in there.
yeah.
And BJ, anything else to add?
Well, to align with what Lorena just said, or what's already been said, I think that has to start at the leadership level, right? So you
Mm,
have to have a conversation with leadership on a regular basis to define what safety in the workplace means. To your point, Sarah, it's not just a physical situation, but it's the whole being of the employee.
yeah.
And in doing so, develop safety policies and procedures as well as benefits. Make sure that you have communication that goes both ways, to make sure that employees feel as safe as they could, as you said already.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And that's an excellent segue into the next question I was going to pose to you guys. Sarah mentioned it in her initial response, and both Lorena and BJ followed up. But you talked about inviting the whole person, like not just the physical safety, but also their emotional and mental safety as well. And when we're thinking about DEI initiatives, mental, physical, and emotional safety comes into play as well. So, in what ways do DEI initiatives intersect with workplace safety? And how can
Mhm.
organizations ensure that safety practices are equitable for all employees? I'm going to toss this one to Lorena first.
Well, one of the things I always, when I'm talking about DEI, whether it's with safety or not, it's that there's really there's no real DEI without the equity and inclusion part of it. A lot of people want to make sure that they're filling in the quota, as some people say, and I have, this group of people who are minorities, and because of that, I've already done what I need to do in the workplace. But it's not only about having those people working in your organization, but it's making sure that they have similar opportunities, the same opportunities as non-minorities, and making sure that they feel safe to to open up to leadership about concerns they might have. So I really think that when we talk about safety in the DEI space, we need to make sure that it's not only the diversity we're focusing on, but we're making sure that we are listening to those diverse folks, to make sure that there is actual inclusion and equity when it comes to opportunities in the workplace.
Mm.
I love that. Who wants to go next, BJ or Sarah?
I can go next. I think also education and communication is key in this area as well, because without the knowledge and understanding, people are coming into your organizations from all different backgrounds. And unless you educate people and help people to understand why it's so important, both from the top down as well as the down up, is if they don't understand why it's so important to their own safety as well as the success of the organization, it won't matter anyway. And communication is very key in this regard.
Thank you. Sarah?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what both Lorena and BJ have already shared, that first and foremost, DEI and safety are inextricably linked, because you cannot have inclusion where people do not feel psychologically safe, and you cannot have equity where people do not feel physically safe. So it there's no way to divorce the concept from it. And a lot of times working in the DEI space and having communication with clients who are putting together DEI strategies, we try to treat workplace safety as if it's its own like separate entity, and that the two things are not connected. And in my opinion, they're inextricably connected. And we see when we start to delve into, to BJ's point, safety policies, the way that we train individuals, we find a lot of discriminatory, microaggressive, marginalizing things in the ways that those policies are put together. And so, if we're not keeping a lens on DEI as we are creating these policies, as we are revising these policies, then we create opportunity for bias to creep in that will continue to marginalize individuals in a place that is so critical to their ability to be successful at work. And that's not something that we want. So I agree wholeheartedly with BJ that it has to permeate the ways that you orient and onboard people into your organization, that education, that layout of what the expectations are, that has to come very early in people's experiences with your workplace, because people are coming from all points of life, and you have no idea what their experiences were, if any, before they reached you. And so if you don't take the opportunity to set the expectation of, this is how we want you to behave here, this is the conduct that is expected here, this is the environment and the culture that we're creating here, then you open up the door for people to make their own interpretations that are not going to be in the best interest of the safety of your employees. And that's what I want to make sure gets clearly articulated in the session on workplace safety, about how to set those expectations up front, how to make sure that that message gets out to your employees at all levels of the organization, and what are the steps that we need to take to action, to put that into action and to actualize that within the organization as well.
Wow. All of those responses have me like, because I realized how much of a blind spot safety was for me, especially as someone, when I did work in corporate America, who was responsible for administering orientation or giving the orientation. And the safety aspect of it was always physical, and it was always like that same video, like slip and fall, don't spill water,
Yeah.
depending on
Here
where
are
you
the
were.
fire exits
Sit.
or and the fire extinguishers. And that's such a
Yeah.
narrow piece of
Hmm.
what safety entails. And depending on your industry, safety can be super important. Me coming from primarily, again, frontline places, production facilities, safety is, people, I know I have had to deal with safety case where people have lost limbs, where people have, seriously, I've watched people be carried out on stretchers and in ambulances because something in safety didn't click or wasn't taught to them properly. And then we not only, cause injury by not educating on the back end, but then we compound the psychological impact of that by not handling the administration pieces of it with compassion and grace. This person is now injured in the ways that we communicate with them directly, the ways that we notify their emergency contact, all of those sorts of things. And like Lorena said, you have to practice those things before they happen. You have to have a preparedness about you, about what we're going to do when that happens, because hopefully you're not injuring people in the workplace enough for this to be something you're proficient at, right? Like, you don't want to be good at managing workplace injuries. You want this to be an infrequent occurrence. And so, but when you don't do something a lot, you don't get very good at it. And so you have to make sure that you are handling those issues and that you're practicing, you're going over the processes, you're using your preparedness skills to get ahead of anything before it occurs.
Yes, yes. I don't want to get too more deep into that because I know that your session and your workshop is going to get deep, deep, deep. So if that doesn't give you enough incentive to go and sign up right now, and I keep seeing the QR codes pop up on the screen. So go ahead and sign up for that. And we've got some folks chiming in. John Baldino, what's up, Humareso? Saying totally agree. Safety is often a blind spot. And a good friend of Sarah and myself, Jimmy Miles,
Hey, Jimmy Miles!
checking in from Facebook saying safety is key. Yes, it is. And this is someone who works in cybersecurity. So they're looking at safety of
that's
not
a whole
that's a whole different
whole
safety issue.
additional added area of safety that we talk about but don't talk about. And shout out to our producer Jamie, who handles a lot of the cybersecurity and cyber safety for those of us in the Humareso organization, making sure that the spam and the phishing and the folks who are trying to steal information and hoodwink and bamboozle don't make it through. So that is a whole new area of safety that is important for us to remember as well.
Yes, thank you for that. Going back just a bit, because I believe it was Lorena and maybe Sarah, maybe it was Sarah, who introduced the concept of trust early in the conversation. So, how important is it for HR to take the lead in modeling and maintaining a culture of trust? And what actions can be taken to build trust between employees and leadership? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to start with BJ on this one.
I was like, who talking?
Exactly. Thank you. So that starts from day one, right? From the day that the employee starts, and making sure that they are clear and understand the policies and procedures. And I think we talked a little bit before in recruitment that the company has demonstrated and discussed how they are, and we gave the truth about what they are and not what their perception or we want the employee's perception to be, so that when the employee comes on board, they experience exactly how the company has been described. Making sure that your value propositions and your values and such are clear to the employee, and they can readily see that that's demonstrated, always leads to trust in the organization. Because I know in our organization, we talk about it from recruitment all the way through to onboarding. And then the employees, when we revisit them with a survey, and usually a verbal survey, many times that's one of the top things that they notice, is that we live our values. So it's important that the employees can see that we walk out what we're actually portraying to them as the company to begin with. Also, the next important part is communication, an open line of communication from HR all the way to leadership to management, etc. You have to create open communication, because the more clarity, the better the trust, right? And also having meetings regularly with employees to know what's going on in the company and what is coming down the road, etc., and allowing them an opportunity to be able to ask questions and receive clear and answers related to it. It's just the beginning of building trust.
I'm going to drop the mic on the bar on that bar. The more clarity the better the trust.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Dropped.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sarah?
So I would add, I think trust is integrity in action, right? It is saying what you're going to do, doing what you say you're going to do, and then making sure that people know that you did what you said you was going to do. And if those things continuously line up, trust will build, right? And when those things do not line up, when you don't say what you're going to do, or when you don't do what you say you're going to do, or when you don't let people know that you did what you said, any one of those things, right? When those happen, trust gets diminished and becomes, and the longer that trust goes get on being diminished without the communication that BJ spoke of people taking ownership to say, I broke the trust. And now I have to do the things to repair that trust. Like the longer that goes on, the more difficult it becomes to repair and rebuild. And at a certain point, trust becomes irreparable. And that's where we begin to see turnover within the organization because that individual has lost so much trust in the integrity of this organization. And it may be just the integrity of their specific leader, but they've lost so much trust that they no longer feel they can be safe, that they can thrive, that they can continue to function optimally in the environment. And so we have a responsibility as leaders to make sure that that integrity in action gets maintained. And we do that by modeling it first. Like you go first, right? Like you be the one to say what I'm gonna do what I say I'm gonna do, and then make sure that you report back. And then you hold those who you have authority and influence over accountable to that same standard. And I believe when that happens consistently within organizations, within departments, across teams and groups, that you will have high levels of trust. And alongside that comes high levels of communication, high levels of safety, because there's visibility, there's accountability within that group. But when that doesn't exist, the trust is absolutely going to break down. And the longer that breakdown is allowed to linger, the more likely that the damage becomes irreparable for both parties. I don't trust you, you don't trust me, and we can't continue.
Wow. Yes. And again, another mic dropper. Trust is integrity in action. Lorena, it's your turn for the mic drop.
No pressure.
Sorry, no
Both
pressure.
great things. A lot of things I was also thinking, but one of the things that BJ said about when we're talking about surveying, and usually she mentioned verbal surveys. When an organization is saying, I'm going to survey, whether it's verbal, whether it's a written survey, you need to be ready to listen to the hard stuff and act on this hard stuff as well. I think many times a lot of companies make this mistake. They survey employees about, whatever it is, let's say safety for because that's what we're talking about here. And then they read all this feedback if they read it, and then they don't act on it. And I think that's where a lot of the trust also breaks down because you're not being accountable from the get-go. So it's not, so if as HR professionals, we are saying, hey, we want to listen to your feedback, it actually means actively listening. And obviously, not everything that is said in a survey we can solve immediately, but address it and show people what are the steps we're going to take, to make the situation better, to make the workplace a safer one. And I think that's the biggest thing here, actively listening to that feedback.
Yes, and you got it in. Be ready to listen to the hard stuff and then act on the hard stuff. Here we go. We
Swag
got some
drop. Yes. Look at it.
tote bag.
Tote.
Tea on talent. Oh, An HROI
Sweatshirts,
sweatshirt,
sweatshirts, t-shirts, and I know it's got
t-shirt.
to be coming. Where it's got to be coming. My
Oh, wait,
favorite,
wait, wait.
the fanny pack. Oh
Ooh.
yes. Oh, yes. So listen, even if you are not going to be attending the summit, you can still support what we are doing through the purchase of swag. And you can go to swag.humareso.com and be able to view all of the items and make your purchases there. But if you register, you will automatically receive a gift card to the swag shop in order to choose your own swag. What is it that you want? Because and that's another way that we have been intentional about making HROI unique. Because a lot of times you go to conferences and they tell you what you're gonna get. Here, you take this tote bag. Here, you take this T-shirt. You know, am I going to use this? Is this actually something that's going to be useful to me? So we wanted to. Yes, we've got mugs in there. We've got those reusable shopping bags in there. Like we really tried to put together a swag shop of items that we know that are going to be useful to individuals and that represents the support for the HROI Summit. So if you attend the conference, you will have the ability to be able to surf the swag shop and find the items that are most meaningful for you to add to your collection. But if you are not attending and you just want to support, then we definitely would love it if you would visit swag.humareso.com and take a moment to look at the swag and buy the item that speaks to you.
All right. Thank you so much. Do everything she just said, and I'm not going to even try and repeat all of it. You're going to have to catch the playback,
Yeah.
but buy the stuff, sign up for the conference. All right.
Yeah.
So, last question. What are the biggest benefits and challenges HR professionals face when implementing effective coaching and development programs?
Ooh.
Second part of that question, and this is just a yes or no, does the level of the employees have an impact on how successful these programs will be?
Hmm.
Let's start with BJ.
Well, the biggest challenge that I've always found is buy-in
Yeah.
on all levels, right? And it's important that you help people understand what it is that you're attempting to do. What is the point of the coaching and development? What are you trying to achieve? Set your goals, and then be prepared to measure and understand how successful those programs are. And are they meeting your goals? So that would be my answer to that. And does the employees have an impact? The level, yes, absolutely, 100%. They have an impact on it, and I think it rises to all levels of the organization for development and coaching.
Lorena.
So I would say that what the benefits is building that trust and making the workplace a safer one. If we are coaching our leaders when it comes to workplace safety and psychological safety, I do think that it will create a healthier work environment, and that, of course, will in turn bring the employees to trust their leaders and trust their organization to do right by them. So I do think that the level of the employee also has a huge impact on that as well.
And Sarah to close us out.
Yeah, so development programs in my experience, the challenge has always been with follow through. I think people love the idea of continuing education and it's all great to put together the curriculum and how all of that is hard work but it's fun work. But where it gets real is when people have to step away from whatever thing that they're required to produce in order to focus on this particular learning that doesn't have the same immediate ROI. And it's like now it's like, oh, well, we need them to, be working on this project. We need them to be producing this thing. And now suddenly this development piece is fluffy instead of being essential and necessary. And I think the development matters of the level because of the ability to influence that, but I don't believe that people should be held back from being able to pursue development, hone in on soft skills, all of those sorts of things just because of their level within the organization. I think it's something that should be available to all, but the impact is going to definitely matter what level you are, because if you're not participating at it at the higher levels, then the lower levels are not going to take it as seriously either, and it tilts the whole impact of the program.
Awesome. This has been a fantastic conversation, and not just because I was asking the questions.
It's so much easier on that side of the microphone, isn't it?
So, oh my, I love this side. This is the best side.
It's the strong
But
side.
thanks everyone for tuning in to another preview. Please make sure that you do sign up. Get your tickets now on sale. There's a swag shop. And also connect with us on LinkedIn so you can see all of the fun and exciting stuff that we are doing leading up to the H-ROI Summit coming October 25th through 27th. Virtually, online. You don't got to get on no airplanes, no buses, no cars, no walking, nothing. Just get in your chair, turn on your camera, join us. See you next time.
See you next time.
See ya.